Alright, hello once again, Jeff Scott of Rankin Technical College. I've been going through a series of video presentations that I'm making for the Rankin Technical College AWD, that's Application and Website Development program, and in particular the AWD 1111.NET Framework with Web Databases class. Our textbook that we're going to be using for the fall 2019 semester, as you can see on the screen, is Pro ASP.NET MVC 5. It's an A-Press book by Adam Freeman. So far, I have done lectures for chapters 1, 2, and 3, and I'm just getting into chapter 4 on the essential language features. So, I'd like to thank Mr. Brock Parsons, who's one of the instructors here at Rankin, for helping me clean up a lot of my desktop. I kept running out of room. I should not now, as I have over 25 gig and have the ability to get about 200 gig more if I need it. So, we left off again in chapter 4. Now we're on using automatically implemented properties. The regular C# property feature lets you expose a piece of data from a class in a way that decouples the data from how it is set and retrieved. Here is an example, all right, where we create a product class. And the product has a variable in it that's called name. All right, so we've added the class called product to the models folder. All right. In a class file, it says it's called product.cs. Now, the property, as it says, the property called name, notice that's a lowercase n and that's an uppercase N, is shown in bold. The statements in the get block, this is known as a getter. It's also known as an accessor. It's very similar to like when you're using a database and you use a select, or it's similar to a get, like an HTTP get we've been looking at. You can't change the data, but you can retrieve the data from it. So it's what's performed when the property is read. The set, which is also known as a setter or a mutator, is performed when you're assigning a value to the property. Either you're assigning a new value to over an existing value, or you're assigning it the first time. A property is consumed by other classes as though it were a field. So what we're going to do is this. I'm going to come in here and grab every bit of this to right here, copy it to the clipboard, come back to my program, and in my program here, I can close these references. I just want to show you that that one reference was there. Come on, there you go. All right, I want to just close this and clean it up a bit. Much better. So I'm going to right mouse click on my models folder, choose add. Again, I can either use controller, but since the class is what I want to choose anyway, I'm going to come down and make this product. There's my product class. I'm going to come in here and I added exactly what the author showed. All right, now I should be able to go back to my home controller and now remove this, and I should no longer get an error because there is the stuff in there. Now it's grayed out as though I'm not using it, but that's okay. All right. So now what I want to do is I want to come back into and create this auto property. All right. In my home controller, and this auto property is going to do what's referred to as consume. Okay. It's going to consume my product stuff. Now before we do that, let's copy it. Come back in, whoops, I'm sorry. Come back over to here. Go back to my, I don't think I need this results anymore open right at the moment. Come back to my home controller, and I'm going to add this. We can look at it from right here. So what are we doing? Well, we're creating a new method called auto property. What we're doing right here is we're instantiating or creating a new instance of a product, of the product class. All right, this is creating a new product object called my product. Notice now this is no longer grayed out because we are using it. All right, then notice, because that product has in it what? It has in it just a name property, right? So we can come in here and say myProduct.name. All right, and notice we're using the capital N. Why? Well, if we look over here, notice that this is public, but this is private. So if I come through here and I go back over to here and I say my product dot, you'll notice that I've got name, capital N, but no name. If I put it capital N-A-M-E with a lowercase n and say it's equal to Jeff, I get it. It changed it, so I want to change it there. It doesn't like it because that's not something it can see because it doesn't have direct access to it. So I'm setting the property value for my product name to kayak. Now I'm going to get that property. So that's a getter, that's a setter. Notice with a setter that the property appears on the left-hand side of an equal sign, and with a getter, the property appears on the right-hand side of the equal sign. All right? Then we generate the view, return result. Now, as we're returning a result right here, we have to take it and cast it, all right, to type object because that's what it is. Now, if this works, and we're going to run it to see, it should say product name kayak. So let's check it out and see if that's indeed. Do a save all, and let's come in here and run it. Again, we're not using views right now. We're just doing everything right inside of the controller here, which, you know, isn't the way you would typically do it, but for what we're doing so far, it will suffice. There you go. Navigate to a URL to show an example. Oh, okay. We have to say here auto property. Okay. Property. No, it was right. What did we call this? Auto property. Okay. Still doesn't like it. Oh, there it is. Product name kayak. That's all we wanted to see. All right, a lot of work. Okay. A lot of buck for very little bang, so to speak. All right, let's continue on then. I'm already at almost 10 minutes, and I'm not making a lot of progress as far as where I'm getting in the chapter here. You can see that the property is read and set just like a regular field. Using properties is preferable to using fields because you can change the statements in the get and set without needing to change the classes that depend on it. They mention here again that they cast that second one to an object because the view method has an overload that accepts two strings, okay, which has a different meaning than this. So it says you can see the effect. You already saw it. All right, properties are all well and good, but they become tedious when you have a class with a lot of properties. It says all of which mediates access to a field. So the author came in and added additional properties to the class. Notice now we've got a product ID, we still have our name, a description, a decimal price, etc. All right. What the author says we want there is the flexibility of properties without having to duplicate all these getters and setters. The solution is what's called an automatically implemented property, also known as an automatic property, also known as an auto property. With this type of property, as it says, you can create a pattern of field-backed properties without defining them. So what we can do is we can change that so it looks like this. Notice the capitalization. All right. Don't know if we're going to use this or not, but just in case, I'll highlight it. Notice that I do not define bodies in the getter and the setter. Both of these are done for me by the C# compiler when the class is compiled. Now, that's a good thing and a bad thing. It's a good thing because it's a lot less code I have to write. So that's always a good thing. It's a bad thing in that there's no validation being done. At least right here, there's no validation being done. So using an automatic property or an auto property is no different from using a regular property. So it says the code in listing 4.4 should work without you changing anything. I don't know if this is 4.7. All right. By using auto properties, the author says I've saved myself some typing, created code that's easier to read, but still preserve the flexibility that a property provides. If the day comes when I need to change the way a property is implemented, I can go down here and just change it in here. So we're changing the return value to the product ID followed by the name. All right. It says, notice that I must implement both getter and setters to return a regular property. C# does not support mixing automatic and regular style. So in other words, since we're changing this one, we couldn't just say set there. And value is a built-in keyword that'll return the current value of the property. All right. Using object and collection initializer. Another tiresome programming task is constructing a new object and then assigning values to the properties, as illustrated in listing 4.8, which shows the creation of a create product action method to the home controller. So they're creating this new method right here. Let's go and copy it into our home controller, and then we can take a look at it and see what it's doing. So, wow. Oh, I know why we're getting those errors, because we didn't go back and add those other properties. All right. So let's see. We've got, well, let's go back into our thing here, and let's move back up. And we'll grab all these. Love that. And the author says, and so on. All right, so let's copy that. Let's go back here. This is just kind of a play project anyway, so it's no big thing here. All right. Now that's going to clear up a lot of the errors we had. Not all of them, but it's going to clear up a lot of them. All right, so you can see we don't have price. We don't have category. All right, so let's do those. Let's make those even simpler than what we have right here. So let's say product decimal price, and we'll say we just want to do the get and the set. Okay. Boy, and I'm just get, set. That's interesting. What is it like here? Public decimal price get set. I thought that would have worked. And it doesn't like something here. Must have at least one accessor. Well, we can do it this way. I don't know why we would have to do it that way, but we can. So this is return price. And this will be price equal value. Should fix both those. Got the price there. We'll do the same thing with category, but that'll have to be a string. Category. And we'll have to return category. And we'll have to put category here. Now again, I know why we had to put all that in there, and that is because we put these in there. If we had just said public int product ID like this, we could have just done get set. All right, so what I'm telling you is, if we would have taken this, commented it out, well, I want to let us comment those out. Then we could have come in here and done public, ID like this. And come in here and said get set like that. All right, now we wouldn't have needed that. We could have come in here next and done the same thing with name. Copy that. Get set. Then with description. Get set. Then with price. Get set. Then with category. There's our get set. And you'll notice again, now all the errors are gone. Okay. All right. So we got all that done, went through this, and we're here. So what are we doing here? We're creating a new product. We're setting, because it's on each of these fields is on the left-hand side of the equal sign, so we're calling the set method. The ID will be 100. The name will be kayak. The description will be a boat for one person. The price will be $275. Not sure what M is, I don't remember. And the category will be water sports. And it should come back then and just show the category, which is water sports. All right. The author says I go through 3 stages to create a product and produce the result. I create the object, which is right here. I set the parameter values, which is right there, and then call the view method to display the results. All right. Fortunately here, the author says I can use an object initializer feature, which allows me to create and populate the product in a single step. So we could have done it like this. So all of this, not that much, 7 or 8 lines, could have been replaced with this. All right, so just to show you that, grab this, copy it to the clipboard, go back to my program, go back to the home controller here, take all of this, these 5 lines, and let me make sure I'm doing it correctly. Would have also taken these lines here. So these lines, comment all of these lines out. All right. Come back here and paste that in. It's a little bit cleaner, all right, to do it that way. Easier to read. You may or may not agree. Okay? All right. The braces after the call, so these braces here, and here, and you need to notice the semicolon on the end. They form the initializer, as the author says, which are used to supply values to the parameters in the process. It says the same feature let me initialize the contents and collection of arrays. So we could do something like this. If we're going to do that, we need to use collections generic. I'm trying to be complete with the author here. And, oh, I'm way over time. So let me start the next lesson now.